Alex has been working as a night watcher in that parking lot for months now and has been waiting for a paycheck. In general, the job was easy. Just sit and watch the cars parked in the parking lot. Before Alex, in this position, had been working an old grandfather who slept almost the whole shift. But after a few cars at night took out the wheels, the old man was fired without pay. So in order not to repeat the fate of his predecessor, Alex never slept at night and went around the parking lot several times a shift. It was during one of these night rounds that he noticed the very same car that was in the parking lot. It was an old car. The wheels had blown off long ago. The tinted windows were covered with a layer of dust and dirt. It was impossible to see what was in the cabin. I wonder what's inside and who left it here, thought Alex. This thought did not give the guy any rest. Several times he came to the old car and wanted to pull the doorknob on himself. But then, thinking, Alex went away from the car, afraid that someone would see him. The guy hesitated for about a week before he finally decided to get into the cabin of this old car. He was sure that the owner of the car would never start it and would not leave without the help of a tow truck. Experience told Alex that nobody needed the car. Alex decided to open the car at night. He knew that at such a time there would be no one on the street and no one would disturb him. The guy took a screwdriver with him in case he had to break down the door. At about 2 a.m., Alex went to the car. He had never been involved in car break-ins, and he felt out of place. Taking hold of the car door handle, he gently pulled it open. The car was unlocked. The guy opened the door and smelled a musty odor. When he opened the rear passenger door, he saw that the cabin was completely empty. "Just trying van, nothing interesting," said the guy disappointedly. Alex wanted to close the door of the car when the thought came into his head to look in the trunk. Of course, in the back of his mind, he didn't expect to find anything interesting in it, but when he did open the trunk, a large black bag caught his eye. Alex carefully pulled the bag towards him. "I wonder what is it in it," thought the guy. Carefully untied the sack, Alex shined the flashlight. He was horrified by what he saw. There were human bones in the bag. Alex didn't understand how old these bones were, but they were at least 3 years old. There was some hair on the skull of the corpse, and on closer inspection, Alex even noticed a gold tooth in the jaw, and on the finger on the right hand there was a gold ring. Judging by the color of the hair and the residue of life, the deceased was a middle-aged man. The frightened guy tied the bag with shaking hands and put it back in the trunk. After closing the car, the guy looked around and ran to his workroom. Alex wanted to call his boss and tell him about this find. He had already picked up the phone, but the guy thought it over and decided not to call the boss. What am I going to tell him? That I had nothing to do and decided to get into an old car? For this, I certainly will not be praised, especially before the paycheck, thought Alex and put the phone aside. Trying to come to his senses from the creepy find, the guy tried to distract himself, but no matter how hard he tried, there was still the creepy bag of bones in front of his eyes. Alex wanted to wait until morning and turn his shift to his partner. "So what's up there? Everything's okay?" the supervisor asked. "Yeah, Robbie, everything's fine," nervously answered Alex. Pulling himself together, the guy said goodbye and went home to sleep. Today he had another night shift waiting for him. Alex hoped that he would not have any more such finds on his shift. Alex could not sleep during the day. The neighbors were noisy all day long. The guy packed his backpack and left for work 2 hours earlier. Alex walked around the parking lot and tried to look at the old car with the creepy bag in the trunk. The parking lot was large and a number of cars parked in it. Alex walked around and noticed at least 3 other similar cars that he had climbed into the last night. Of course, their technical condition was much better than the car with a bag of bones in the trunk. But on the other hand, it was obvious that they had been parked for a long time. Just in case, Alex remembered where they were parked to see if they would be taken from the parking lot or not. And also, the guy was surprised that the owner of the parking lot did not call a tow truck to take away this junk and leave room for new customers. Alex tried to find out from the day shift attendant who exactly owns these old cars that have obviously been parked in the parking lot for a very long time. "I don't know, ask the supervisor," replied the shift attendant. Alex did not ask the parking lot owner about the strange cars. Instead, he decided that night to inspect those cars that had been parked for at least 2 years. Alex himself could not understand why he was meddling, most likely. The guy was probably bothered by the bag of human bones in the trunk. Having waited for the beginning of his shift, Alex saw his partner off and tried to find in the work log notes about possible owners of abandoned cars. The guy found nothing in the logbook except mentioning the names of the car owners he needed. "Well, I'll find out tonight, won't I?" thought Alex. As darkness fell, the guy went to inspect the cars. Alex cautiously approached the car and immediately tried to open the trunk. It was unlocked. Alex carefully opened it and saw exactly the same backpack. "What on earth is going on here?" the guy said. Alex opened the sack, and at the same moment he was hit in the nose by the foul odor of a dead person. The guy went to check 2 more old cars and also found black bags with corpses in the trunk. Now Alex no longer doubted that he was in a very bad situation. There were 4 corpses in 4 cars. Suddenly, from the side of the road, he heard the noise of the engine of the car that was entering the parking lot. From surprise, Alex hid behind the nearest UAV. Meanwhile, the car stopped, looked that there was no one in the spot, and drove on. Alex decided to watch the strangers who came by some off-breath. The car stopped and 2 people got out. The guy immediately recognized the owner of the parking lot. He was about to come out of his hiding place when suddenly he heard a conversation between the supervisor and his friend. "Don't worry, everything will be fine. He doesn't know anything about case." This parking lot is a real mess, thought Alex. Meanwhile, the boss came into the room where the watchman's workplace was located. The boss began to shout, "Why are you not at your workplace? Where are you?" The guy didn't want to shout back, especially since he knew that his employer was probably not who he said he was. The owner of the parking lot called Alex one more time, but there was still no answer. Then the boss and his friend dragged the man bound hand and foot out of the car and threw him on the pavement. Then they put in strange ropes and began to recite some kind of prayer in an unknown language. This might be some kind of sect, thought the man anxiously. He could not escape because the parking lot was behind a high fence, over which it was almost impossible to climb. Meanwhile, the man in the hoodies abruptly stopped talking and pulled out a huge axe from the cabin of the car. The man turned the prisoner over on his back and in one blow chopped off his head. The man in ropes began to chop the unfortunate man into pieces, into a black sack prepared in advance. From what Alex saw, he became sick. The guy stretchered and hit the fender of an expensive foreign car, and the alarm went off. People in hoodies looked in the direction of the foreign car. "Come here, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you," said the supervisor. "Just tell me one thing, why are you doing all this?" asked Alex. "Don't you still get it in Tough Man?" Centuries ago, on the side of this parking lot there was an altar where human sacrifices were made. According to the ritual, the bodies of the sacrifice should be near the altar. So I bought this parking lot where once a month I perform human sacrifice and put their bodies in the trunks of old cars. "It's quick and convenient," the chef replied with a grin. There was nowhere to run. The only way out of the parking lot was blocked by the warden. The guy realized that soon the Satanists would corner him and chop him into the pieces. Alex took off his shirt, and one end he set on the fire and the other he lowered into the gas tank of the nearest car to him. The guy knew that the explosion of the fuel tank would cause a massive fire, which could affect him, but now he didn't care at all. After the explosion, Alex didn't understand how he managed to get to the exit through the dense ring of fire and smoke. The guy's body was covered with severe burns, and he was in a state of deep shock. When the fire was extinguished, the firefighters were very surprised that in addition to the dead owner of the parking lot, his friend, the territory of the parking lot, found the remains of several other people. And on the Alex line in the ward of the burn center, he knew what was the matter. But despite this, he decided not to say anything, just to forget about this story as soon as possible.